Hello, and welcome to the Sacred Sister Podcast,
where we normalize the magic
and we sacralize the mundane. My name is Britt.
And I'm Hanna.
And we are so excited to be talking about such a fun topic today.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
We're going to be talking about numerology. Yes. What is numerology? Why are we using it? How can we work with it? And yeah, we're also going to be telling stories about how it has affected our own life.
So exciting. And as far as housekeeping goes,
we have a review. Loving the reviews that are coming in. Thank you so much. We have a review by Bei Tai Tai. It's called Authentic and Fun. She's actually one of my clients. She told me that she wrote the review. It was so cute. Authentic and fun. Enjoying every episode of this podcast. I love listening to two beautiful souls sharing their knowledge, wisdom, and experiences. Their guided meditation at the beginning of each show is something worth your attention to relax and unwind.
Bae, thank you.
Thank you.
That's such a beautiful thing. That I feel like the pieces of guidance come in exactly the right time that they're supposed to, because Hanna and I have kind of had this back and forth conversation about the meditations, saying like, do you think they're a little bit too long? Are they the good amount of time? Are people really sinking into them, or is it something that maybe they're passing over? And that beautiful review just came, so we're like, no, they're exactly the length and the topics and everything that they need to be. So thank you so much for that. And I touched on this last episode, but I want to do it again really quickly. The reason that we are so grateful and appreciative of the ratings and reviews are not just to hear the feedback from you to us on how the podcast is impacting you, but also it helps other people to be able to find Sacred Sister Podcast, make it more searchable in the spirituality category on podcasts, and that is why we so appreciate them. So in case it is resonating for you, we do encourage and invite you to go and do either a rating or review. It takes just a moment, and yes.
Thank you, Legion. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the new moon that is happening. Happy new moon, everybody.
Leo season is upon us.
Leo season! So Leo is a fixed fire sign. And yeah, do you feel the fire inside of you? Are you feeling it?
I am feeling it. So the sun just went into Leo, yesterday?
Yes.
And
before when we were recording it.
Yeah, we're recording this about a week plus right before it comes out. And I got out of the shower today just wanting my hair to be like a big lion's mane. I have a little top with my sun on. I'm wearing my blingy earrings, and I bought myself new pants yesterday. I'm just feeling myself so hard, and it's such a fun feeling.
Yes. I love Leo season. Being a Leo, it's one of my favorite seasons for sure.
Yeah, your birthday's coming up.
Yeah, coming up.
Yay.
Yeah, but yeah, we're just this Leo season is really for us all to shine our lights and allow that inner fire to burn brighter in whatever way is true for you.
Yeah, so much fun. I have just recently started doing these, starting with last month, doing my monthly intentions, not by the month, like July 1st, August 1st, but going by when the sun is entering a new phase or when we have a new moon season. And it's been working really well for me. I'm really, really happy about it. If you are looking for a new way to set intention, I just posted today a photo on my Instagram if you want to go and check it out at Britt Lynn Rising, BrittLynn Rising. And are there more things you want to touch on?
No, I mean, you said it. The new moon is really about setting intentions, allowing yourself to dive deep and reflect and dig deep and plant those seeds for the future. So yeah, we're going to be going into a little meditation now. Brittany's going to be guiding us through one, and then we're going to dive into numerology.
Oh, sacred sister, a kindred flame, may we light one another. From the ashes rise, oh, we rise, oh, again.
So if you haven't already, go ahead and find yourself a comfortable seat. And I'd really like to share today a grounding ritual that I've been doing recently that's been really helping me, especially prepare for deep sleep. And when I was thinking about the meditation for today, I was thinking of how intuitive numerology as a practice is. And I wanted to do something that will help just to soften the intuitive zone of our bodies, the area right between the eyebrows. And to do this, I want to use a little mudra today. So if you're driving, maybe come back to this meditation whenever you're available to. And for everyone who has their hands free, this will be a shorter meditation today. So go ahead and place your two palms out in front of you. And just look at your beautiful hands. Place your palms together so the fingers are lined up. And then bring your two sides of your thumb, together. And you'll notice that your hands, your palms start to separate away from each other a little bit. And I want to encourage that. So place the two thumbs while they're pressing together between the hands. Almost so it looks like just the fingertips at the top are touching and the pinky side edge of the hand is touching, and the thumbs are resting almost as if it's a little nest. So this is going to be the mudra today, and what we're going to do, looking down at your thumbs, you see that the area between the thumb, the base of the thumb, that bone, and then there's that first knuckle and the end of your thumb. So in that first knuckle, we're going to place it right at it's not called the occipital bone, I think it's called the ocular point, the ocular pressure point. So where the eyeballs are, and I know this is taking a little bit of preparation, but it's going to be worth it, I promise. So your eyeballs have the skull around them, and it's the top ridge of the skull in the eyes. So you're going to place that first knuckle of the thumbs, and then just allow your head to kind of rest down. So the chin is curling gently into the chest, and the hands are there to support the skull. And I encourage you to just move the palms ever so slightly, the hands from left to right, just feeling into this. And there should be a pretty sweet moment when you feel that pressure point. And whenever you're ready, take a deep breath in and just let it go. Let's do two more just like that. Nice deep breath. With the eyes gently closed, during this meditation, if you'd like to, gently massage that area with the base of the thumb, allowing the breath to calm and to lengthen. Every inhale longer, every exhale deeper. We can so easily find ourselves so distracted by the outside world. And what this mudra has been helping me do is to release so much of the outside world and also my own thought processes that can keep me just as distracted as the physical world around me. And it may take a while for the thoughts to dissipate. And I encourage you to be patient and compassionate with the self. And to invite in that state of mind that is one-pointed, that is of stillness, that is restful, that is slowed and steady, that is not searching, that is not enacting our left brain of analyzing, on the lookout, critical, but that is able to just be. I think of this as my reset zone. Whenever I find myself out of balance or just unable to come to a calm place, returning back to this pressure point and really just allowing myself to drop in. Slow down. It's when we're in this state, this really present and aware state, where we're not thinking about the past or the future, that we're really able to open our eyes to perceive signs, synchronicities, miracles. And the topic that we'll be sharing on today is opened and more clear to see whenever we are in a place of perceptivity, when we are open to receive new perspective, and when we are really open, ready, and willing for guidance. If we try to scrutinize things too closely, it will always be ineffable. We won't be able to put our finger on it. So much of these practices with spirituality are lifting the finger from trying to point it anywhere and just to allow ourselves to feel into what we perceive the message is. Another few breaths at your own pace. I invite you to make your next inhale a little more full. And bringing the fingertips to gently tap one another, waking back up. Whenever you're ready, releasing the hands down, taking a big roll of the shoulders, pulling them up to the ears, gentle cascade down the back. And whenever you're ready, opening the eyes.
Thank you. I love that mudra. Definitely gonna take that into my spiritual practice. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
It's so nice too, because when you like actually touch it, that point makes you like focus on it even more.
Yeah, and it's almost like that itch that you never knew was there and feels so good the more and more you scratch it, like just really pressing into it. And even taking crystals, if you have some tumbled crystals, that just feels absolutely delicious.
Yeah, I almost feel like it would help with when I do get migraines at times. Like, ooh, I'm gonna try that next time.
Yeah, it's really been helping me with getting ready to go to sleep, because my mind, I've been noticing the last few days, just, sitting in bed for 20 minutes and then being like, oh my gosh, I'm still thinking about stuff. And then just kind of doing this and, it being there. And I'm curious, because I saw you rubbing your middle forehead. Were you putting your things here on the sides, like the holes?
Like here too?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I did the whole.
Yeah,
I did
the
whole
area.
Thing.
I did the whole
area.
Perfect. I was just like, oh, did I not direct that in a good way? But there we go. I think there's a lot of experimentation to do around the whole area. So
yeah,
the whole area loves to get love. So
I'm gonna give that area more love now for sure.
Isn't it a good reset? It's like a literal reset button.
Yeah.
I never knew that it was anything, but I was just kind of literally hands in prayer, having a prayer on my kitchen table one time, and I just rested my thumbs right there, and then I was like, wah, 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 wah. It just, and then I heard someone mention that it was a mudra just a few days ago, and I was like, intuitive guidance. Thank you.
Beautiful. So we're now ready, after we're now experienced this intuitive connection within ourselves. We're now ready to dive into numerology, such a ancient self-knowledge system. And it is basically both. It is logic and intuition both combined, because we have certain techniques. There is some calculation with it, but then also like how that resonates within yourself, that is where the intuition comes in. Yeah.
And really it's like the biggest part. I feel so strongly about that, and I'm so excited that we're doing this episode, because it's just so important for us to feel super liberated in our own intuitive space, to really feel that we have connection to our own internal guidance system, and break away from collective thinking in that way. Because if everyone just thinks exactly the same about stuff, then you get boundaries and rules and borders that actually have more to do with like belief system, like organized belief systems that really aren't very free at all. So I think this has just been a really transformative practice for my life, and it gives me great pleasure to open up about, and especially in ways of growing intuition, which is, a huge place that I had always wanted to get into, that I always felt very ominous and fleeting.
Yeah.
And like not my own.
Because we're not being taught intuition. You know, we're going into this world, and especially in the Western society, where we're going to school. Everything is left brain pretty much in school. I mean, how much art and music is there still, and even the art classes and music classes are so many rules. At least that's how it was in Germany. We had a lot of rules and a lot of tests, even in those classes that were supposed to be very intuitive.
Right. And then it's competitive too.
And then it's
very competitive.
Yeah. So we have it all like a very masculine oriented society, and now we're diving more and more into the feminine and really allowing that intuition to come out, because we all have it. We all have amazing intuitive abilities if we all have the ability to have amazing intuitive abilities if we allow them to grow and we allow them to be trained. We can train them just like muscles. So what is numerology? So numerology, numerus means number, and then logi comes from logos, which means word. So the word of numbers, basically the hidden meaning of numbers. And the numerology that we're going to be touching on was created by Pythagoras around 500 BC, and he was a mathematician. That's probably how you know that word, that name from, Pythagoras. And
the Pythagorean theorem.
Yes. And so I actually wrote about Pythagoras in school, because I had one of my majors was math, and I wrote about him. And little did I know, I just found out about that a few years ago, that he was actually an astrologer, a numerologist, a spiritual guru, a musician, and he created the schools of mystery, where they taught all about this fun stuff.
Yeah. So when you were saying that to me yesterday, that you're saying that he was one of the first founders of a mystery school, period. Wow. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. So fun in ancient Greece, in those big temples, the schools of mystery. I'm so excited. I wish they were back. I wish I could just sometimes I go back there in my astral travels, but I want to bring them back into this realm. It'd be so fun. But we're kind of doing this with this. This is kind of mystery school here. So let's go through the numerology and kind of see, what does it even mean? What are the hidden significance of the numbers? And because we have, everything is vibration, and this is basically where Pythagoras comes, where his theory comes from. Because you notice that everything holds a vibration, and each number, like the number 1, just intuitively, what do you think is the number 1 vibration? What do you think? I wonder.
Write us and let us know.
We give it a little pause so you can think about that, because all these things that we're going to be telling you are very intuitive. They make sense. For example, number 1 stands for initiative or taking action. Do you want to do number 2?
Yeah, sure. 2 is balance.
And number 3 is creativity.
4 is foundation.
So the 4 corners and the 4 elements. 5 is freedom.
6 is harmony.
7 is the truth.
8 is power.
9 is philanthropy.
And 0 is the void. So you're not going to run into 0 in a lot of the calculations that you do, but still 0 holds so much within its ominousness.
Yes. 0 can be anything. It can be all or nothing. You can see it as 0, like nothing is there, or you can see it has everything. It's infinite, because it's a circle. It never stops. It never ends.
Yeah. It's the place of after death and before the birth and all the things that we don't know.
Yes, the mysteries.
The infinite mysteries. Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. And so all these numbers hold a certain vibration, and these numbers show up in our lives, like when we notice them somewhere, on a clock or on a watch, on a car. in our house numbers, when we notice them in our birthday or birth time. And then also each number corresponds to a letter, and that's what Pythagoras created, was because he put all the numbers in a row and then the letters in a row, and then basically A correlates to 1, B correlates to 2, C correlates to 3, and so on. We're not going to go too deeply into how to calculate all of that, because we're going to just send you to numerology.com, where you can find out more about how to calculate those things. But just so you have an idea that it's also letters, that each letter has a certain vibration, which in turn creates each word, each name has a certain vibration. And therefore everything has meaning if you allow it to be.
Yeah, I love this topic because of how woo it can really seem to a lot of people. Like, who thinks that words or like names have power? Some people, it could just be like, what a load of hogswash. But then if you really sit and think about it, it's like your name actually depicts a lot about your energy.
Yeah.
And how you move as a human.
I actually also chose my daughter's name. I was really aware of like what her numbers are going to be with the name that she has. And it's just really nice to just be aware of that. Like, what kind of numbers do you want to give your child, you know? And then when you get married, those numbers also shift.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Yeah, I have to say, having a name that was actually the number one girl's name of the year that I was born, Brittany, in 1989. Everybody was named Brittany. When I grew up, everybody's name was Brittany. I would be in, a grade school class, and there would be up to like 5 other people with my name. And it was a part of my, identity crisis that I know that I've spoken about here on this podcast as well. Just because I wanted, to know who I was. And there were so many, other girls with my name out there. And it was just an interesting part of my struggle as a child. I felt like so invisible in a lot of ways.
How interesting. So it was perfect, kind of the name that you got, because it like helped you go through that challenge.
Oh, so perfect.
Wow.
And then, knowing who I'm named after, Brittany the Chipette from Alvin and the Chipmunks, she's like such a little fiery brat. I love it now. I'm so in love with the fact that I'm named after her. It makes me so happy. She's like song and dance, always singing and dancing, the leader of her little sisters, and I just am so in love with it. And my mom let my sister choose the name, which is so fun.
So cute.
What a fun thing. I was gonna be a Candace. I'm happy I'm not a Candace. Candace is cute too, but I feel like Britt is that's my jam.
Yeah, you're Britt.
So let's talk a little bit about, I want to say this too. When I took a numerology class with you a few years ago, I loved the story behind the 1 to the 2, 2 to the 3, and the 1, 2, and 3 to the 4. And I just want to really encourage everybody to go to that numerology.com. I'm sure they have some kind of depiction of that story of the single digit numbers and their place and how they all go together, and they have a story that build upon each other, and it really just widens the perspective of, wow, these numbers actually do mean something, and it all makes sense.
And also, like, it makes math so much more interesting. Because Pythagoras was also a mathematician, but this is the only thing that we kind of know him of. But he was, an astrologist, numerologist, spiritual guru, musician, because he knew about the vibration. So when he was a mathematician, he knew that every formula, it can actually be transferred to a life philosophy as well, because there's a meaning behind the numbers. So now you're going to start looking at numbers from a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
And it's so fun because it happens, throughout the day. We're getting confronted with so many different numbers, and just starting to become aware of them. And I'm sure that many of you started seeing 1111 at some point, and we're going to be touching more on those numbers later on. But yeah, just starting to become aware of those numbers that are part of your everyday life.
So let's talk about some of the calculations for the ways that people can associate to numerology or work with it.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a few different, well, not a few, there are actually quite a lot of calculations that you can do to find out things like your life path number. Do you feel like it makes sense just to say the type of number, and people will probably intuit a lot of what that means?
Yeah, I mean, the life path number kind of shows like where are we heading in this lifetime, and then your destiny number, also called expression number, is what your talents are, like how you express yourself. And then we have the soul urge number, that this is what your soul wants to experience. We have the personality number, that's what people see or feel when they meet you. We got challenge numbers and pinnacles numbers, which are so fun, and we just calculated Britt's before this episode. Because it basically creates 4 stages of your life, and you can see what is like the main topic or the main theme throughout that stage, and what is the main challenge throughout that stage. So it's really fun to be aware of those little things. It's a fun way to look into the future as well, and then also into the past and self-reflect on where you're coming from and what you have already experienced. But we're not even going to go too deeply into all of this. I think for now, let's just talk about the life path number, how to like calculate that, because that's pretty simple. It's basically just your birthday, like your birthday month and year. You calculate all those numbers together, and until you get to a single digit. So for example, if you calculate all of them together and you get to 23, and then you take the 2 plus the 3 and you get to 5, and that's your number.
Anytime it's a single, or anytime it's a double digit number, split it, add them together, and keep going until it reduces down to a single digit.
Yes, unless it is one of the master numbers, which is 11, 22, 33. Those are usually the numbers that you don't necessarily have to add together, because they hold in itself like a very special vibration, because they are, you know, whenever we have 2 numbers that are the same next to each other, they're amplifiers. So that's just like a little fun thing to do. If you don't know your life path number, it's super interesting. I'm a life path 9.
I'm a life path 8.
Yes, and for me, life path 9 is like the philanthropy, the humanitarian, that's just, you know, wanting to give back to humanity and just being of service to the highest good. And I felt that really since the beginning of my life. I always felt like I want to change the world. I want to make this world a better place. That was like my main theme from a small child. And yeah, and now that I know that that's my life path, I'm like, okay, makes sense. And with each of those numbers, when you look into numerology.com, you're also going to find, obviously there's a light to it, and then there's a shadow to it too, just like everything. So it's really interesting. It's just another way of self-discovery.
Yeah, and when you were saying all of that, I was thinking that seems like such a light aspect of when you're fully in your persona and really feeling like you're doing what it is that you feel called to do. And when I think of 9, and the way that I work with 9 a lot is through gaining comfortability with endings and finality and things closing, chapters closing, especially with personal year numbers, because that's what I run into most, because I'm not a life path number 9. But Hanna has such a comfortability with death and with endings of a lot of different kinds, and it's such a beautiful gift that I think whenever you open up to other people on that, because it really, I know for myself at least, it helped me just see everything from a very energetic perspective, and the energy really doesn't die or go anywhere. It just shifts its form and continues on. And it's a really superhuman kind of ability, I feel like. Truly.
Thank you. Yeah, that's such a 9 thing, and one of the shadows with 9, and that's super interesting about the color about the number 9. The color, interesting. The number 9 is because when you add the 9 with any other number, it becomes always the other number. So, for example, now when I'm with Brittany, I'm a 9, Brittany's an 8. Together we are 8 plus 9, which is 17, which is 1 plus 7 goes down to 8. So whenever the 9 is surrounded by anyone else, I become the other person. I adjust to the other person's energy. And that's a blessing in a sense that I can be very empathetic and work with other people, but at the same time the shadow of the 9 is to become like codependent on others, or to look for others to approval, or almost like give others more power than taking the power onto myself.
And have you felt that to be true at stages?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Beautiful. I'm a recovering people pleaser.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful piece too, to look into the shadow sides of your life path number 2. How has your life path influenced you? Well, I have such a beautiful story about my life path number 8. I really only came to numerology a few years ago after the astrology courses that I took with you when you and I really started getting close. And when I discovered that it was a life path 8, it made me happy, because I always knew that 5 plus 2 plus 1 was 8. And to learn that my life path was a number 8 too was just something very comforting about that feeling.
And just so we know, 5 plus 2 plus 1 that's Brittany's birth month plus the birthday.
Oh, yes.
Just so you have an idea.
Yeah, May 21st is my birthday. Thanks for that. So, whenever Hanna and I started getting a lot closer, we came up with this idea, this kind of gathering that had already started happening. We said, hey, this feels really good, and we want to be surrounding ourselves with more people like this. And that grew into what 2018 was for us, which was Sacred Sister Gatherings, which were these moon ceremonies that we were doing every full moon and then every new and full moon. And was it the first ever moon ceremony that I got the Conscious Spirits Oracle deck, a really beautiful Oracle deck that I had been working with, and we placed a card underneath the pillow of every person that had come. And I got the 8 number from the Conscious Spirits Oracle deck, which had this beautiful healer on it, and the name of the card was the healer. And that specific deck comes with a little affirmation, and obviously it had something to do with stepping into a role of a healership. And I still have that card on my altar. It was this really, really sweet moment of knowing that the 8 also embodies that shaman, that magic person, the person that's able to help people move through and be the bridge, because the 8 is that infinity symbol where there is no beginning and there is no end, and like the spiralic changes of life and the seasons of life. And it's those little things that can seem outwardly to other people like not that big a deal, but then just knowing the impact that it had on me is where I start to become liberated in myself and empowered in my own being.
And that's the life path 8.
And that's the life path 8. And that's the whole childhood that I had come out of that had no idea what that was, that had no idea what personal power or that kind of like feeling of internal liberation meant. And it's those kinds of little synchronicities that start happening inside that it doesn't matter if it makes sense to anybody else, because all that you really need is to feel that inside of yourself. And I feel like that validation piece is something that you and I try to touch on in most of the episodes here too, because when we attach ourselves to the validation of other people, meaning giving other people our sacred stories and expecting them to be like, oh my gosh, that totally means as much to me as it does to you. We're never gonna get that validation from people. No. So really being able to detach ourselves from that and not need the validation from our partners, our best friends, our family members, it really, really helps the process of self-discovery and awakening.
Yes.
It really does.
This is something that I'm learning so much with my husband, because he's an Aries and he's just so blunt in what he says. Mm-hmm. And when I do tell him these sacred stories, as you call them, sometimes he's just like, yeah, cool. All right, whatever. And he notices that I'm hurt by it. Mm-hmm. And I say something about it, and then he's like, why do you need my approval? Don't ask for my approval. Mm-hmm. Don't ask for my validation. This is your thing. Love it, embrace it, own it. This is you. You don't need me to do anything about that. This is your life, and you create meaning for it. Mm. And then I'm like, yeah, I know, but I still love your support. And he's like, I support you. It's like, I just don't have to validate your experiences. And he helps me so much in all of that stuff, because sometimes he can do it in a way that is not necessarily the way that I wish to learn the lesson, but I'm super grateful for it, because he does help me to just be, and just be like, okay, that's just what it is for me, no matter what you think.
Yeah, I love that point that you just brought up. First off, I want to say what a healthy relationship to have a supportive and saying, you do you, be yourself. I don't need to necessarily be there for you. But then also for you to respond in the way that you do, because I feel like sometimes in the spiritual community, people can want to totally ostracize themselves from people that don't believe things the way that they do. And they're like, I don't have space for your negativity, or this non-believer kind of you just want to push people out that don't think the same way that you do. Mm-hmm. And actually that's it's a way to deal. But you're gonna keep being brushed up against if you allow yourself to get really triggered by that, because we are always going to encounter people in the world that have varying beliefs,
and those people are actually going to respect you more when you don't care what they think.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you care what other people think, you're giving them power.
You give them power
over your own emotions and over yourself. Mm-hmm. And
when you stand liberated, it actually can be really threatening to people.
And really transforming at the same time. Uh-huh. If you just, when we all, as light workers here talking, if we all stand up for who we are and don't try to push our beliefs onto others, and don't try to get that approval from others and that admiration or validation, then we actually can transform more people ultimately. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We can, because people look at us and be like, oh wow, that seems really powerful.
It radiates strongly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Radiation. That's the Leo sign too, just the radiance.
Mm-hmm. The bonfire.
Yes. Bonfire.
That's so beautiful.
So yeah, we've been talking a little bit about personal numbers already, personal year numbers. And we've been saying that throughout the whole podcast. And we always said, I'm in my 2 year, I'm in my 3 and 4 year. And so now finally is the time where we're going to explain what we actually mean by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yup. Okay, so basically the way to find out the personal year number is just by taking the date and month of your birthday and the current year that you're in.
So currently we are in 2019, which is 2 plus 0 plus 1 is 3 plus 9. We know as soon as we do something plus 9, it's always the other number. So it's a 3. We're all in the number 3 here.
Collectively.
Which correlates to the Empress in tarot. Mm-hmm. So we're in the year of the Empress. We have a tarot episode, our one before this. So if you want to learn more about tarot, you can check that out.
Mm-hmm. But wait, I want to
collectively in the number 3.
Yeah, there you go. I wanted to clarify that. Yeah, as a collective, yes.
As a collective, we're in the number 3 here, and then whatever your birthday and month is, like for Brittany, 5 plus 2 plus 1 is 8, plus 3
So I'm in an 11 year or a 2 year. And this is definitely a master number for me. And just coming more into myself, especially after my mom passed. I think I've mentioned here before, I literally didn't think that I would be able to survive her passing. And it has just been a really, really, obviously a huge chapter opener in my life, because I really, really thought that something would happen to me, that I would pass, because I didn't think that I'd be able to handle the grief. And yeah, now I'm figuring out who I am. This is my high priestess year, really turning inward and looking at my most magical self and being able to be that unapologetically outward and just knowing who I am.
And the intuition. Oh my gosh, your psychic abilities have been just like blasting open in this 2 year.
Blasting open.
So fun. And I'm currently, so let's calculate it together. I was born August 20, so it's 2 plus 0 plus 0 plus 8, which means 10. So 1 plus 0 is 1. So I'm always one step ahead to the collective. So I'm like in a number 4 year right now, and I've been feeling the 4 so much. It's all about like finding my 4 corners of the mat, 4 corners of my business, like really creating this foundation. Creating structure. A lot of stuff with boundaries came up this year for me, like really creating healthy boundaries, saying no to things that no longer resonate, knowing exactly what I let into my space. And interestingly enough, it was also like last year when we did our Sacred Sister gatherings. Brittany was in her 1 year, I was in my 3 year. And 3 is all about like expansion and creativity and fun, and the 1 year is about initiation and action and getting out there. So it was perfect for us to do that throughout the whole year. And as soon as this year started, we're like, both of us were just like, no, not anymore. Not there anymore. We knew it had to shift into something, and it shifted into this, which we are so grateful for. But yeah, it was really funny to notice that difference between my personal 3 year where I was so social and I went out on so many events and parties and gatherings and all this stuff, and then getting into my 4 year where I'm like, just financially, like the most successful in my business as I've ever been, like really creating this like huge foundation for my business, investing, and also with my family, being more responsible and creating routines and structures. And it may sound like, I don't really want to do that, but it was exactly what I needed. Like after that year of creativity and just having fun, I was like, I need my 4 year. I was so excited for it. And then now my next year is going to be the 5 year, which is basically when you think about the 4 corners, and then the 5 is going outside of the box. And so it's like, okay, so we're outside of the box, something freedom. We're doing something that is different from the norm. So I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a fun thing in friendships too, for two people to know their personal years and their life path numbers. I know for myself, having you 2 years ahead of me has been so much fun, because I see the things that you've accomplished, like when you were in your 2 year having Emma, and then your 3, and then now you're in your 4, and I've seen the things that you've really cultivated for yourself in that, and it just makes me so excited, because I'm someone that sees the things that other people do, and I'm like, oh, it's possible. Let me pull that possibility into my realm. And then it gives me more power to make things that don't exist yet possible for myself. Yeah. So this is something that I want to put out there too. Get together with your tribe, your girlfriends, your sisters, and your partners too. Gosh, it's so helpful to know where your partners are as well.
My partner is on the same one. It's so fun.
He is?
Yeah, it's so fun, cool. Because I can see like how does it resonate with me and how does it show up for him. So I can see the same kind of vibration and how individual it can show up for each one of us.
And Curtis is in a 3 right now too.
expansion, creativity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with his music production, it's so fun seeing the things that he's creating.
And it's so fun because it gives us almost like a permission to just allow things to be the way they are. Like with the 2 year, you know, this is a time to like go within and honor your intuition and take it slow, take it slow. Easy. Be patient with yourself, be compassionate. And then the 3 year is the one of experimentation and getting out there and doing all the things. And so it's like so nice to also know, oh, okay, so this is the year that I'm in right now. And then next year, that's a great time to do these things that I feel like I want to be doing. Yeah. And, you know, when, like for me, for example, like the 5 year is going to be something where I do something out of the box, where I do something that is maybe wild. I mean, my last 5 year, I came to America from Germany, so that was my last one. That was definitely wild and out of the box, and no one expected that. So I don't know what's going to happen next year, but I'm excited for it because I know that ultimately I allow myself to be guided into whatever direction is for the highest good of all. Because the highest good of all includes myself. So it's going to be awesome.
Totally. Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm like getting so lost in thought over here too, because I'm just like, wow, this is such a magical life.
It's so magical.
Because this is another aspect of numerology as a practice, I feel. These themes, let's see, how do I say this? It's not like the year number that you're in, your personal year number is going to 100%, you're only going to experience stuff like as far as a year 2. It doesn't mean that. And if there are any critical thinkers in here that are kind of eye-rolling at a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, I just invite you to scope out a little bit and think of personal year numbers as having an overall general theme. And a really great practice to do if you are just getting into numerology and you're like, well, I've got to wait a whole nother year to see how I am in another year. Go back and do the self-reflective stuff. Go back to think of like really big years for you and do the calculations for that. That was one of the huge aha moments because I went back and I was like, holy crow, whenever I got my DUI and everything went into shambles, that was my 7 year. And you know, going back and looking at those things can be really, really, it can almost help heal wounds from a long time ago, too. Because you're like, wow, that was meant to happen at that time.
Yes, it gives meaning.
It gives meaning. And that's all that these things do. The chakra system, astrology, human design, numerology. Obviously, none of us... it gives us faith. It gives us trust and faith that there is a divinity to everything that's going on in our world and that we are meant to encounter certain challenges and, you know, trials and tribulations and triumphs. And it just helps to make sense of this whole thing that honestly none of us know what it is that we're like doing here anyways.
And it gives us some sort of order in the chaos.
Exactly.
It helps us see patterns,
yeah,
which makes it so much easier to navigate through the unknown because yes, none of us knows what's going to happen in the future, but at least to see a pattern emerge in, and it's something that you can hold on to, and it's something that you can ride the wave, just like astrology. You can look into the future a little bit, being like, what kind of energies are coming? And it has helped me, it has helped my clients so much knowing the personal year number. I know every single time that I tell my client, oh, you're in this year, and they're like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense right now. And it's just so fun. Like, I love that moment when people are like, oh, like that aha moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why I feel this way. Wow. And then we can turn these stumbling stones that we're like trying to bang against because we're like, why is this not happening, the thing that I wanted to happen? But then we can actually see, oh wait, I'm in a 2 year, this is my year of connecting with intuition, or I'm in a 4 year, I'm meant to create structure and routines and foundation. Then we know, okay, cool, so I'm gonna do that. And then we notice how much fun it brings us. It's like this portal that is open and we just walk through it and life is easier and more fun. life is a game. We always love to see life as a game.
Yeah, and it's just more manageable.
Yeah.
So let's talk about angel numbers.
Yeah. Angel numbers are another thing that you can really use numerology with greatly. You probably heard of angel numbers before. Basically, they are just numbers that stick out to you, that you start noticing. 1111 is pretty famous. 2222 or 444. Those are like pretty famous angel numbers, but pretty much every single number sequence can be seen as an angel number. And there's a really nice website that I want to refer you to. It's Joanne Sacred Scribes. And the whole website is actually sacredscribesangelnumbers.blogspot.com. But the way that I find it is I just type in the number that I see. For example, when I make a big life decision, often I look at my watch and I see what time it is. And I look at the number. And then I think about the number, like what does it resonate to me? And then I go to Google, type in the number, and type after that Joanne Sacred Scribes. And that's when I find her, and she has really a beautiful explanation of every number sequence that you can think of. And that's just a really fun tool to use the angel numbers with. And we want to also touch on that it's not just 1111 or 444. It can be any number that is significant.
Yeah, I think that's been definitely something that I've had to find my own path as far as the not seeking validation, because my entire life I've seen 521 everywhere at times, prices, all over the place. And 521, as I mentioned earlier, is my birthday. So for a lot of people, 521 is probably not so significant. For me, ultra significant. Same thing, right before my mom passed, I started seeing 1208 everywhere. 1208, December 8th is her birthday. And now that she has passed, I cannot even tell you, hundreds of times probably I've seen 1208. It pops up for me all the time, everywhere. Even I was eating chips the other day, and the Best Buy date was, I was thinking about my mom as I was eating the chips too. And then I looked down and it's December 8th that it ends. And it's these kinds of things, as we were talking about the validation piece earlier, the easier time you're able to have with just understanding that your own process is going to be so unique to your individual human experience, the better it's going to be for you. And it might take a really long time because
takes practice.
Yeah, and it might take, a whole lifetime. And
it's a constant learning.
It's a constant learning. It's a confidence. And it is what we make it, ultimately. And in those moments that I see 1208, I feel a little hug from my mom. And it helps me.
Yes.
It helps me.
Yeah.
I don't need to explain the story to other people to be validated inside of myself, because that connection is for me and my mom. And there's so much power inside of that.
And I mean, you have to think about how many billions of bits of information are we receiving throughout the day, every single day. And what are the chances of you feeling your mom before and then looking at the date and it being 1208? Just like little things like that. That's how spirits can communicate with us. Because, I mean, that they like throw things around the room or like close doors, that takes a really powerful, it takes a lot of power and energy for them to do that. So the more that we allow them to just show us subtle signs and being open to those things, that's how we can communicate with loved ones who have crossed over, or that's how we can start communicating with our spirit guides. And not expecting big signs to happen.
Oh my gosh.
521.
I just looked down at the clock right now and it's 521.
Look at that.
That's hilarious. So let's talk about some other types of numbers. I really love the house number. So Hanna mentioned this earlier in the episode, but maybe some of you thought about astrology. Really, the house number is the literal house that you reside in, adding up the numbers of the house.
Yeah.
Your address.
Yeah, it's your address. You can either add the whole address, being like all the letters, transferring that into numbers, and the actual house number, or you can just use the house number. It is amazing, especially if you tend to move houses a lot. It is so fascinating to look back into your different houses that you lived in and the things that have happened for you. Like right now I'm living in an 11 house, and 11 is the gateway. It always gets us somewhere closer to our soul's purpose in some ways. And it has happened so much in this 11th house since I live here. The one home that I had before was a number 7, which is like finding my truth and reflection. It's also the number of solitude. And funny enough, we were all the way up north next to this beautiful lake. It's called Floyd Lamb Park. And we were so far away that we almost had no one visiting us. So it was like literally a house of solitude. And funny enough, like with a 7 house, it also says it's really good to have that near water, or like be connected to the element of water. And I went to that lake so many times when I lived at that 7 house. And it was hilarious because even after we moved, we were like, you know, we want to hang out with friends more often. We want to see more people. But it was literally the house of solitude for us. And
I went there one time and Curtis and I were leaving. We were like, this is far. Never again.
Yeah. And then we moved here. This is the 11th house. And yeah, and I lived before that. I lived in 2 other 11th houses. I tend to live in 11th houses. So
yeah, you know what? I haven't done a lot of the math on all the... I grew up in probably like 20 plus houses growing up. So, and sometimes we lived in a few houses that had the same numbers, like the same 7708 was a thing. I'm actually in 7709 right now, which is fun. But yeah, there are a lot of repeating numbers too. So that's going to be a little side project for me to go back into. So if I'm in 7709 right now, I think that's a 5. 7714 is 5 and 9 is 5. So yeah, this has been a huge house of liberation and freedom and creative projects and just really playing. Just really, really, really having fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. Another fun thing is also the car number you can do too. Your phone number. Like, it's just so fun. You can play around with it. Yeah.
Basically.
Another thing that I wanted to mention, and I forgot to mention about the personal year number, is when you are in your personal year number that correlates with your life path number, you often do things that are part of your life path. So that's a cool thing to like reflect on especially if you're unsure of like, what is my purpose? What am I meant to go towards? When you think back on the year that you were in and what were your interests and what were the opportunities that were coming to you, what were the things that you were really wanting to dive into, those are often little signs for us to take us towards our life path. And the same for like other, like the soul urge numbers and destiny numbers. Like, it's a fun thing to look through them and be aware of when you are in whatever number you're in, because then, yeah, again, it gives more meaning. It gives more permission almost to go all the way and allow yourself to blossom. Oh yeah, and then when you get married, what happens when you get married? As a woman, we often tend to take our husband's name, which I mean,
or partner.
Our partner's names. I mean, it doesn't really necessarily mean anything if you're a woman or a man, because I know that men are taking on the names of their wives as well. But for me, I took on my husband's last name, and it changed all my numbers to 969696. And it was amazing. And since I'm married to him, it actually helped me towards my life path. Because my life path is a 9. And so I started to having more 9s in my personality number than in my like expression number. So it was easier for me to go down that path. And funny enough, before I met him, I always wanted to be an actress. That was my main passion. I wanted to be an actress, and through acting, changing the world and helping others through acting. And then I met him and we got married. And then shortly after that, I received my first astrology book from his mom. She gave it to me. And that it just started this whole thing for me that I went towards more the 9, towards more the humanitarian, and finding ways, how can I be of service? Because I got so much, my numbers got shifted towards 6 as well, which is the 6 of service, and finding ways to help others. And that's how I became a coach. And it's amazing. It's really fascinating. So if you got married, or if you've changed your name, if you have like a nickname or an artist name, those are the kind of things you want to look up to. So your main numerology is the birth name, the one that's in your birth certificate, and that's always going to stay with you. But whatever name you take on after that, if that's your married name, if that's a nickname, an artist name, that's like another layer on top of that. And that's fascinating self-reflection.
Yeah, I was thinking to share a story about my mom, and I just don't feel like I want to tell it anymore. And I want to instead talk about a beautiful numerology experience where this number was just coming time after time after time. So last month in June, me and Hanna and Hannah's daughter Emma and my sister went on our first trip together. We went to Spirit Weavers, which is a spiritual women's gathering that happens in Southern Oregon. And it's a 4-day, very ceremonial, ancestral workshop, Skillshare, pretty much. And the 8, my life path number, was just popping up for me absolutely everywhere, starting the days before we were about to leave. And I wrote down here a lot of different times that were popping up for me. So I was seeing 1208, which I've already kind of mentioned. I made the association that 1208 actually translates to 3 and 8, and I think it's beautiful because mine, my sister's, and my dad's life path numbers are all 8, and the fact that my mom is 1208, 1 and 2 is 3, which is creation, and I feel like a big piece of her purpose was creating these healers. And now after she's passed, this is the initiation that me, my dad, and my sister have all felt, that it's totally catapulted us into a new chapter that we never would have known or been able to experience had she not passed. And I was seeing 521, my birthday number, seeing spiders all over the place, which always for me correlates to the 8 of Pentacles in the Wild Unknown Tarot deck.
And they have 8 legs.
They have 8 legs. Oh my gosh, so I woke up, I have my journal open here because I made a big list of all the 8s. The first morning that I woke up from the Airbnb in Oregon, I looked down on my chest, and between my breasts was an 8, an infinity symbol, and I looked down and I was like, what is going on? Was something printed on my shirt that like transferred to my skin? I rubbed it off and it disappeared, but I was just like, what the heck is that? It wasn't anything on my shirt. I looked at my clothes. So there was
fun.
There was that.
And that was in Mount Shasta in the Airbnb.
That was in Mount Shasta.
Magical place.
I was sitting down one evening thinking about, the the beauty that is taking a trip with my sister and my best friend and being at such a beautiful place with beautiful women. And I look down at the girl next to me and she has 8s painted all over her shoes that she painted. We were on Infinity Highway for a portion of the drive, and there was the little infinity symbol. Oh, my sister told me at the beginning, I brought a little piece of amethyst, an amethyst necklace on the trip, and my sister says, I want an amethyst, I want a piece of amethyst, and I was like, ooh, perfect opportunity to manifest. And she goes, what? I could never manifest a piece of amethyst. And she's like, okay, I'll challenge that. Aww. And then she goes to one of the trade swaps. It's like some swap where people sit in a circle and they bring little things. And my sister brought a lot of her needle felt animals. She makes all these needle felt animals. And someone exchanged her something for one of her animals, and it's a big raw amethyst. And the amethyst is wrapped in copper, and the way that it's wrapped is this beautiful infinity symbol 8. So she shows me the amethyst, and I was like, oh my gosh, you manifested the amethyst. And she goes, oh my gosh, here's another 8.
It was so fun. We saw so many 8s. So it was just so fun to be 8s. A part of the story and to notice.
To see them everywhere.
Yeah.
That's another beautiful thing, having people around you to witness all the majesty as well. Yeah, I don't know. My sister made a sigil, little symbol for a manifestation that she wants to have in the future, and the way that the symbol wound up working out was a perfect hourglass 8. Just beautiful.
Yeah, and those are the little things, when we start noticing those little synchronicities, that's how we can connect with the deeper meaning of life, because, big things that are going to shake us off, like a tower moment that we were talking about in the last episode in tarot, they're pretty spare. They're pretty seldom that they happen in our lives. So the most messages that we're getting from spirit, from life, from our intuition are through these subtle signs. And it would be so easy to just look over these things and just be like, meh, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you start noticing those little subtle signs, that's how you know that you're not alone and that life is meaningful.
Yeah. So I have 2 other ones. I was having a conversation with my sister about my life path number, and I said, it's what I believe my life path 8 represents. And as I said life path 8 represents, I stepped on this hose, and the hose was in an 8. And Charity was like, oh my gosh, you have to take a picture of that right now. So I have a picture of it on my phone. And then on Monday, when we were driving home, 8 times this message came through. And this one's a trip.
Oh my gosh.
8 times this message comes through. Okay, so I have one of those Nissan Altimas that has a computer on it. And whenever a text message comes through on your Bluetooth and your phone is hooked up to your car, it says incoming message from, and you can do the text and not look at your phone. And the computer voice tells you what the text message says. And 8 times it says incoming message from 1702 and my mom's phone number, which is crazy because my dad had already closed down my mom's phone number, so there's no way that there would be this incoming text message from my mom. And Charity, it came through Charity's phone.
Through Charity's phone, but Charity had a new phone since then.
Charity had 2 new phones since then.
Oh my gosh, it was so magical.
2 new phones. And the text that was coming through was the same one from this tower moment day that Charity had like years ago. And it was just wild that it was coming through. And it came through 8 times on Monday whenever we were driving home. It came through like 9 times on Tuesday when we were driving home, but I'm hanging on to the 8. So it's little things like that are really, really fun to have a journal that you're writing down your stuff for too.
Yes. That's what's part of the Moon Cycle Manifestation Planner. There's also a little section where you start writing your numbers down that you notice, and the synchronicities and the animals that you see and like everything, because all of those things have meaning. And
if you want them to.
If you want them to have meaning.
That's a really good little cue for people. Do you want to, are they able to download it if they go to your website?
Yes, yeah, you can just go to my website, hannachristiansen.com, and you can download the Moon Cycle Manifestation Planner for free. It's also perfect to download it now since it's new moon in Leo, so you can already start with the whole new moon cycle and start planting your seeds and allow it to manifest.
Beautiful.
Yay! So what are going to be our action guide?
Action guide. So we talked about a lot of different types of numbers on here, and I want to encourage whichever one spoke to you the most, do that calculation. Find out what your life path number is, your pinnacle number, challenge numbers, what your personal year number is that you're in right now. Start taking notice or writing down those angel number experiences. Whatever it is that you heard that kind of shocked you or made you really want to dive deeper, just do that.
Because that's also your intuition telling you, like, that's the path to go. Because you don't have to dive into the whole thing and learn everything at once right away.
Yeah.
Just allow yourself to be patient with it. It's a practice that takes time. And it makes no sense to overwhelm yourself with it and then not wanting to do it. That's not the point of it. So start small, start with something simple, and go from there. Dive deeper.
Dive deeper. Yeah.
Yay! And what are we going to be talking about next episode?
Let's talk about yoga.
Yeah.
Let's talk about yoga. I can't even believe that we've made it now. It's going to be the 11th episode. Perfect number for it.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about yoga, so much more than yoga asana, the physical postures. I think we'll be touching on the 8-limbed yoga path. So much of what yoga philosophy envelops and the ways to invite yoga into our everyday life.
Beautiful. I'm excited for it.
Me too. Can't wait for all of you to join us. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode today.
And thank yourself for taking that time to dive deep and notice the little things in your life.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Namaste.
Namaste.